When you know that you are queer, but your favorite drink is beer, that's gayish. You can bottom without stopping, but you can't stand going shopping, that's gayish. Oh, gayish, you're probably gayish. Well, life's just too short for narrow stereotypes, so it's gayish. We're also gayish. It's Gayish with Mike and Kyle.
Hello, everyone in the podcast universe. This is Gayish.
The podcast whose nightmares are better than day horses.
Sure. I'm Mike Johnson.
I'm Kyle Getz.
We're here to bridge the gap between sexuality and actuality, and today putting the whore in day horses.
Putting the A.
Today we're going to talk about
Friends with Benefits.
FWBs.
FWBs.
Yeah, and like you snuck one in there.
I snuck in a win.
You snuck in a win.
Yep. Every now and then it happens.
Slipped one past the goalie.
Yep.
Just like my ex-wife. No, not really.
No. Okay.
But first,
You're
what?
Mike Johnson.
I'm Mike Johnson.
I'm Kyle Getz.
We're here to bridge the gap between sexuality and actuality.
Did we already do that?
Whore in day horses.
Wait, did we do that?
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
It's okay. It's okay.
I'm distracted.
We're like 379 times I've said that to you now.
And every now and then I listen.
But first, we do have one piece of feedback that I love.
Oh, okay.
It's from our favorite math teacher, Chase Carrico, who, when we were talking about the whale sex last week in the news, said, this is in response to that. It says, quote, Kyle said that humpback whales were the most obvious whales for innuendo. I just feel the need to say hashtag sperm whale erasure.
You're right. Second best. Second best one.
Yeah, give me that sperm whale.
Yep.
And now the news.
Shut your mouth hole, it's time for your ear holes. News.
Okay, Kyle. My goodness.
Whoa, what?
Nothing. I'm stalling because I need to find my news tabs.
It sounded like this is going to be a big news week that I was not prepared for.
News the first. I love it when the Advocate has cunty headlines. The headline from this story, like a desperate ex-boyfriend, George Santos announces he's running for Congress again. So he said that he was not going to run for Congress, as he's one of only 6 people in the history of our country to get kicked out of Congress. But then after Joe Biden's State of the Union address on Thursday, announced that he is switching districts to challenge the representative who led the effort to expel him. Republican Nick LaLota of New York's 1st Congressional District, which is on Long Island.
I kind of support this matchup.
Yeah. It's like the gay drama we knew we needed.
Yes, exactly.
But didn't really want.
Yeah. Yes.
Quote, tonight I want to announce that I will be returning to the arena of politics and challenging Nick for the battle over New York 1, Santos wrote on X, formerly Twitter. Let's keep dead naming it forever. I look forward to debating him on the issues and on his weak record as a Republican. The fight for our majority is imperative for the survival of the country. I love Republican on Republican violence. It makes me happy. But yeah, in case you didn't follow it all before, Santos is gay and a Republican, allegedly gay.
He's lied about plenty other things.
He became the 6th member to ever be expelled from the U.S. House of Representatives on December 1st, halfway through his first term, representing New York's 3rd Congressional District. His expulsion followed a detailed investigation by the House Ethics Committee, which uncovered extensive evidence of alleged misconduct, including campaign finance violations and misrepresentation of his background.
Yeah.
And he's for sure a drag queen sometimes.
Oh, are there pictures of him being in a drag queen?
Yeah, but then also drag queens are really good at being him, so maybe it's all just, it's like Dolly Parton losing a Dolly Parton lookalike contest. Not
we
sure.
need him in Congress to feed the like the gay circuits.
More about the State of the Union, Kyle. News the second.
Okay.
Okay, first, I'm a little upset.
Why?
Katie Britt gave the Republican response to Joe Biden's State of the Union address last week, and everybody is talking about it. She's the junior Republican U.S. Senator from Alabama. She gave the response from her kitchen at her home.
Because that's where families start or something like that?
Yeah, and just, here's the thing.
Okay.
I think that all of the, yes, very hilarious memes about her and who she is and what she did and what she stands for make her seem innocuous when she very much is not.
Oh,
You know what I mean?
yeah.
Like, let's be clear. Although she is ridiculous and laughable, she's also a dangerous human being, and I don't want to minimize that at all. She has quickly become a prominent figure within the Republican Party. Some people are saying that she might be on the short list of running mates for former President Donald Trump's reelection. She's the first woman elected to the Senate from Alabama, youngest woman ever elected to the Senate. And her platform the entire time has been, here we go, traditional values, economic development, and staunch border security. But she has shown support for policies limiting discussions of sexuality and gender identity in schools, like Don't Say Gay laws in Florida. She says that she is committed to traditional values and so-called parental rights to control educational content. This is more Don't Say Gay in schools because I don't want you teaching my kid things they need to know.
Yeah, exactly. Not at school.
She's not received a score from the HRC that usually evaluates politicians' LGBTQ plus voting record, but she has already shown support for transphobia by appearing in a video against trans students using the bathroom in schools.
Oh no.
But yeah, she's a dickbag fuckface asshole. Let's please remember that. The corollary to that is that Joe Biden once again specifically talked about queer people and trans people in his State of the Union address, and reaffirmed his commitment to our rights and dignity in the face of escalating hostility. President Biden said, quote, "To all the transgender Americans watching at home, especially the young people, you are so brave. I want you to know your president has your back. I do not give a flying fuck what you think your reasons are for voting for Republicans. They are against the queer community. And if you're a member of the queer community, that's super fucked up. Please don't do that.
Yeah.
Don't be a dickbag fuckface asshole, because that's what they are."
Yeah. And if you think you're an ally, but you're still voting Republican because of the economy or whatever bullshit you're telling yourself, like, that doesn't excuse you from voting for people that are directly targeting our communities.
Cannot square those things without lots of cognitive dissonance and or alcohol.
Yeah. Ooh. Well, I like both of those. So
yeah. Well, I'm just so scared, Kyle. News the last. Going to end it with something fun.
Okay.
So the LA LGBT Center celebration was on Friday, the 8th of March, and invited to speak at it were Dwayne Wade, who is a basketball player.
Okay, I was going to say football.
So. Former NBA star Dwayne Wade, who has a trans daughter named Zaya, who also attended with her dad, and Dylan Mulvaney, and Italian fashion designer Donatella Versace.
Wow.
The best part about the whole thing, though, in my opinion, is everyone's focused on Donatella because arriving to the event, she got stuck in the elevator.
Oh, no. I love when, like, important people have regular human things happen to them. Like, you don't get around getting stuck in elevators. That's just shit that happens to people sometimes.
Yep. Well, what made it definitely not what normal people go through is that she was stuck in the elevator with her assistant, her publicist, her security guard, and the head of Versace PR.
Sure.
But they were stuck in the elevator for 10 to 15 minutes before finally being freed. There's video of her being extracted from the elevator.
Extracted? That's quite the word.
It took about 4 people to hold the elevator doors open so that they could escape, like they were being born out of a metal vagina. And she says she's heard to say in the video, "Ladies first, oh my God." And as she's carefully squeezed through the gap, she made fun of the situation in her speech. She was named the LA LGBT Center's first global ambassador. And she also donated $50,000 to the center, which provides vital services to the LGBTQ plus community in LA and beyond. Anyway, just, yeah, it's the meme that keeps on giving this weekend. One of my favorites, though, was on X, formerly known as Twitter, which Pink News just says X/Twitter now.
Yeah.
Anyway, quote, "Usually they come out of the closet. This time it was an elevator." Yeah. Also, this whole thing with former NBR star Dwayne Wade and his just clear love and support for his daughter Zaya, who's trans, is just really, really adorable.
Did you say MBR?
NBA
star. Okay.
Former NBA star Dwayne Wade.
Got it.
I still have my own Invisalign shit in. It's hard to say words, Kyle.
Yeah. Podcasting.
That's the news.
Speaking of people who have nothing in their mouth right now, I want to thank the following Patreon.
You don't know their business, Kyle.
I want to thank the following Patreon members. Thank you to Ryan Landers. Surely I didn't fuck that name up. Ryan Landers.
Maybe Anne's grandson.
And Lucas Callas Vasconcelos.
Okay. Lucas is a hot name. I'm here for it.
Okay. Yeah, Lucas, we're here for you.
Great.
Sorry, Ryan. Ryan is also a hot name. You can both be hot.
Yeah, okay.
If you want to join Patreon, have me say your name, get ad-free episodes one day early, and get a ton of other benefits, go to patreon.com/Gayish podcast, and you get a 10% discount if you join at an annual time period.
Yeah, you do.
So join now.
That's exactly what they say on the website too, Kyle.
Yep. And it sounds real smooth just like that.
Yep.
So join now.
Great, do it.
Do you want to talk about friends with benefits?
Let's talk about FWBs, Kyle.
I won.
You won.
Finally.
I mean, once a month we do the poll.
Finally.
It's happening to me. No? Okay.
Now my life hasn't been so bad. It's Fergie. It's a hidden track on Fergie's album.
So now we have two songs to add to the list.
Cut. I don't know what yours is, so yours isn't going on there.
Finally, it's happening. Okay, I'll find it.
Okay.
I don't even know who that is. It's old. It's like the 90s. Okay.
It's 90s.
Where
Friends
were
with
we?
benefits.
Oh, FWBs. Yeah, we did the poll.
Yep.
And this time you put on FWBs and ABDL, which people are not into the diapers, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah.
And CBT, which I think I only got second place because some people thought it was some sort of therapy thing.
Yeah, I think you got the benefit of there are two different things people were voting for.
Yeah, exactly.
You got two topics in one, basically.
So basically I lost all the way around.
Yeah.
If you want to slice it that way.
I do.
Yeah. But the Patreon monthly bonus episode is going to be about cock and ball torture, CBT.
Yep.
Thanks for making me miss congeniality.
I loved in the comments, people were like, oh, I thought it was this, but then saw the comments section. Like the comment section was like really a buzzing about CBT this time around.
Yep.
Yeah.
You ready?
Yeah, let's do it.
Great. I get to put 2 on the poll for April. That's terrifying. Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'll start thinking now.
Okay.
I'm going to talk to you about the history of friends with benefits.
Okay.
Or friend with benefits. And you said you don't know where that phrase came from.
I do not.
Okay. I'm going to give you 5 possible places it came from, and I want you to tell me which one is true.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, here we go. It's from, number 1, it's from the Iron Curtain speech by Winston Churchill. He gave it in 1946 in Fulton, Missouri, to describe the relationship between the UK and the US.
Friends with benefits. Okay.
Number 2, it comes from second wave feminism, the sexual revolution of the 60s and 70s, but in particular in 1963, Betty Friedan, influenced by Simone de Beauvoir's groundbreaking feminist The Second Sex, wrote the best-selling book, The Feminine Mystique.
Ooh, okay.
Number 3, it comes from the 1995 Alanis Morissette song, where the lyric is, "You're the best listener that I've ever met. You're my best friend with benefits."
Best friend with benefits.
Number 4, it comes from a 1997 post by Squeaker Munchkin, who on a forum posted, "How do you classify a relationship of sleeping with your best friend? Is this a best friends with benefits thing?" Number 5, it comes from the 2011 movie Friends with Benefits, starring Mila Kunis and Justin Timberlake. The plot revolves around Dylan Harper and Jamie Rellis, who meet in New York City and naively believe adding sex to their friendship will not lead to complications.
Okay, I'm going to pick the weirdest option that's on that list, which is the Winston Churchill speech.
Great. It is wrong.
Oh,
but it makes me happy that you're wrong. So the Winston Churchill speech...
It makes me happy that you're wrong. Wow. Wow, Mike. Wow.
He actually called it a special relationship, but did not say that it was friends with benefits. But lots of places talked about that. Like if you Google for friends with benefits in history, this is one of the things that pops
Huh.
up. But the very first time that appears is in Alanis Morissette's
Really?
1995 song Head Over Feet. It is off of Jagged Little Pill. And it's clearly not about what we think of as being friends with benefits, because she's talking about a relationship that she is in.
Right.
But it very quickly started to morph into the common phrase, or the common way that we mean it now. The post that I mentioned by Squeaker Munchkin, how do you classify a relationship of sleeping with your best friend? Is this a best friends with benefits thing? I include that in this because by 1997 online, it's being used to mean the way that we mean it now.
Mm-hmm.
So I know that you're going to talk about definitions here in just a little bit, and I have a bunch of specific relationships we're going to talk about later in the episode. But obviously, the idea of this whole concept of a friend with benefits is older than Alanis's song. People have been hooking up since the sexual revolution of the 60s and 70s.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and then 2011, I put in the movie title because there's this renewed use of the phrase, and it appears in media a lot more in 2010, 2011, and that's when this movie with Justin Timberlake and Mila Kunis
I wonder why that is.
Don't know. It just is. It snowballed to there. There was a bunch of literature about fourth wave feminism that talked about the friends with benefits relationship as being a new thing that is feminist in nature to allow women to have sexual freedom, but the safety that they need to engage in it. So there is that, and that might have had something to do with it appearing in media more in 2010, 2011. But yeah, there's a whole bunch of theories about what it is and how it works and where the boundaries are. So maybe tell us about that. Tell me, Kyle. What's the definition? What working definition do we want today? Let's calibrate.
Well, let's talk about. There are lots of types of things that mean somewhere in this area.
Yeah.
So that's what I wanted to talk through. So there are hookups.
Yeah.
Which a hookup I think of as a one-time sex, or maybe with someone multiple times, but it's like it's about sex.
How many times do you have to fuck before it's a friends with benefits situation? Or is it independent of the number of times you fuck? It's about what you do when you're not fucking that makes it that.
I think of as a hookup as a one-time thing, and then if you continue with hookups and it's just about sex, now you have a fuck buddy.
Okay, great.
A fuck buddy is different than a friends with benefits, though, right?
Okay, is a fuck buddy different than a booty call?
Booty call,
because you think, is booty call a noun or a verb, Kyle, in your universe?
I guess it's more. I think now that you like break it down like that, I think you're right. I think it's more of a verb.
Okay,
because you booty call your fuck buddy.
Okay. But then also, if you're somebody who's about to call a booty call, you would say, I'm going to call my booty call.
Yeah, no, you're right. It's
booty call, by the way, comes from the 1993 song Booty Call by hip hop duo Duice, Duice. But he said he and his friends used payphones to call that booty and later shortened it to making booty calls.
Wow.
And so it was a verb first.
Interesting.
For what it's worth. But yeah, okay, go ahead.
Yeah, what's the difference between a booty call and a fuck buddy?
I think they're the same.
I think of a really specific situation. For booty call, I think of it at like, I'm drunk at 2 a.m. and I didn't find anyone else to fuck. So I think of the more like a really specific scenario of a fuck buddy.
It does definitely feel like there is a need to resolve some horny desperation in the booty call, as opposed to a fuck buddy is more of a planned ahead kind of a thing, maybe.
Yeah,
or
maybe.
Like, okay, go ahead.
Yeah. So I think compared that to a friends with benefits, I think the relationship is a little bit more well defined. You might have a prior platonic relationship. And you sometimes hang out with clothes on as well, because you're friends as well.
Okay. That's required?
Or
I think there's some gray areas here that are like, your mileage may vary, right?
Yeah,
but go ahead.
I guess, or like you have not just like chit chat before and after, but like actually like spend time before and after your hookup to like be friends.
Like it's okay to talk about your weekend while you're putting your pants back on.
Right. Right.
But in a hookup, absolutely do not do that. Get out.
But no, because even with fuck buddies, you got to be like, you got to fill that time. So like, there's a difference between like, so how was your weekend? Dressing hurriedly, like not actually caring about the answer, and like hanging out afterwards to be like, so what's going on with you? Like that kind of thing. All of this is different than a situationship.
Oh God.
Which is a little bit more nebulous of a term. There is an emotional bond there, but you probably haven't talked about it. You're probably more than friends. You might have even gone on dates. You might also snuggle and do other
probably
things.
More than friends, but one or more of you is in denial about that.
Maybe in denial about it. They're probably friends with benefits feels like more defined. Situationship feels like more of a nebulous. Not sure where it falls.
I've also heard situationship, which is the scenario where one of you know it isn't going anywhere and the other one doesn't.
Oh no. Yeah. I haven't heard that. That's probably most situationships then is probably that.
Well, maybe. Yeah.
Well,
you could just be living an unexamined life.
Yeah.
Both of you could just be living an unexamined life. But
yeah.
Okay. Is there any more, or is that the lowest tier below relationship?
I don't know. I can't think of any more. Can you?
No.
Okay.
No.
Yeah. I think that's all.
I do think that we should explore, or at least talk about, the intersection between all of that, though, and the various kinds of open relationship that we have in the gay community, especially. But like maybe straight people do this too. I don't know. But like friends with benefits, I feel like I see on Scruff and Grindr way more people lately, the last 5 years or so, who both tag open relationship on their profile and seeking friends with benefits as the like part of their pitch. Do you agree? Am I making that up? Because it also must just be what I'm looking for.
Oh.
Or what sticks out to me.
Yeah, I definitely feel like I've seen more people in open relationships, not necessarily on the apps, but just in general. I feel like that's becoming more common.
But like friends with benefits as being part of an open relationship thing.
I don't know. Isn't that, yeah.
Because one of the reasons for having a friends with benefits, according to the Wikipedia article anyway, is so it gives 5 reasons: just sex, emotional connection, relationship simplicity, avoidance of a more serious relationship, and just wanted a friends with benefits relationship. I don't know the difference between some of these necessarily, but number 4, avoidance of a more serious relationship. This is where the open relationship thing comes into mind. I think there's some safety there. Like, you have a man. So if we fuck, we can be just friends, and we know this isn't going anywhere because you've got this other person for that. I
feel like that is such a negative like subtext to it that I don't like.
Yeah. Like what?
Like, you could just have a friends with benefits situation that's not avoiding anything, and you're just doing what feels good and is right. Like, it doesn't have to be like, I'm emotionally stunted.
Right. I mean, that's why it's one of a list of 5
right
things. Emotionally stunted. That's okay.
Yeah.
That's a loaded phrase.
Yeah. Which that saying implies to me that it's like for a really negative reason, that you don't have the emotional capacity to like whatever. And man, I don't know. Maybe that's why some people are. Maybe you're not ready emotionally, and it's a really good thing that you're where you're at, and you're not really ready for a relationship, and you've made the decision to only be in friends with benefits kind of situations.
Yeah. There is a weird, I can't quite put my finger on it. There's a weird presumption that relationship is where everybody is going or wants to go. Like, even the plot of the Friends with Benefits movie, Justin Timberlake and Mila Kunis, they like, if we add sex to our friendship, is it going to make it weird? And then it does. It makes it weird.
Spoilers, it does.
Right?
Yeah.
Or When Harry Met Sally, it's a similar kind of a thing. That was not with the sexual component, but it was just like, can a man and a woman, can a straight guy and a straight girl be just friends, or is sex eventually going to complicate it? There is this like thing that is ace aro erasure, right? That like somebody might just want to fuck and not have anything to do with you romantically.
Yeah.
And that's valid and okay.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with them.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
But there is some inner judginess that I need to work on for myself, I think.
Yeah. I mean, it could come for some people in a place of like you are having emotional you're withholding your emotions and not willing to commit for a negative reason. So maybe that is the case for some people. It takes all types.
Takes all kinds. It takes a village.
It takes a village to raise
of
a whore.
people.
Oh, okay.
The village people.
It takes the village people.
It takes the village people. I love it. Yeah. So another thing that I want to talk about is the relationships that historians love to call friends with benefits.
Okay.
And the like clear ways in which it was more than that. And I just want to break some of them down.
It's already funny to me that historians call relationships friends with benefits. Like that would be even something that they would, like an academic, that this is being used in academic terms.
Okay, so the phenomenon is so it goes, that you can't talk about a historical figure and label them as any kind of queer if they didn't label themselves that. There's this self-determinism about the labels that are involved here. But that butts up against the fact that a lot of those labels did not fucking exist at all for them to want to have those labels for themselves. And even after those labels did exist, were they aware of them? And even if they did exist and they were aware of them, were they in a place where socially it was acceptable or safe for them to apply those labels to themselves?
Yeah.
It gets really messy. So what happens, though, is especially in earlier writing, like the middle of the last century, you'll see a lot of historians that say these two were really good friends. And then, okay, sure, yeah, they lived together, but they were really good friends. Okay, yeah, they shared a bed every once in a while, but they were really good friends. Okay, yeah, they fucked, but they were really good friends, right? Like that's a thing that happens.
Yep.
So I wanted to talk. So first, the first one that I have is author Virginia Woolf and Vita Sackville-West. So there's a whole film that Time Magazine was talking about. I don't know if it's out yet or not. I'll look up that here in a little bit. But Vita and Virginia. And it stars Elizabeth Debicki as Woolf and Gemma Arterton as Sackville-West. And the film is directed by Chanya Button. But it's the 1920s is when all of this happens. And Vita writes, quote, "I'm reduced to a thing that wants Virginia. It is incredible how essential to me you have become." There's a bunch of like love letters that go back and forth between them that have been recovered. But both of them were married to men. So they would like go visit each other and hang out. And there is quite a bit of evidence to suggest that, yes, they were scissoring or at least enjoying each other's vulvas. And so this is one of those places where at least this movie is like, no, they were full on lesbians.
Yeah.
But Victoria L. Smith, a professor of English at Texas State University, said, quote, "They came from pretty different places that might have provided some of the attraction to Virginia for Vita, certainly. Vita was very attracted to Virginia's genius. And she says, quote, "Their relationship was very passionate and very sexual, even though initially their sexual relationship was downplayed and even ignored." And this is where like it was illegal in the UK. You look at go ahead.
Is that, but the fact that they were both married to men, is that just because there could be a societally they had to be married to men because that was what was expected of women, or were they bi?
Like, what's the dude version of a beard?
Oh,
like were their husbands just their beards for their lesbian love affair?
Yeah.
Their Bic razor,
wig.
I don't know. They're fake boobs is what they're
merkin.
They're okay. So the next one is E.M. Forster. And he was in a relationship for 40 years with a policeman named Bob Buckingham.
Wow.
When they met, Buckingham was 28. Forster was 51.
Wow, age difference.
And Buckingham was had a girlfriend, and then later wife. But despite that relationship going on, and then had a child, they had kids together, or at least a kid together. And Forster became really good friends with the wife and became their kid's godparent.
Wow, really got in there with the family.
But there's this fairly well documented thing of Forster and Buckingham sharing holidays, friends, interests. They would have weekends together, and they had Forster had a apartment in Brunswick that they were very like domestic and sexual when Buckingham came to visit him. There's this interesting thing about like what was going on for them power dynamic wise because of the age difference and because Forster was a famous novelist, and then what was true for Buckingham. And it's funny because Forster was described as a child as being, quote, a delicate boy.
Oh, that's another way to say swishy.
Yeah, exactly. And Forster's tastes in men were, this is a quote by Lytton Strachey, a real man, bluff, beefy, and beautiful. And that's definitely what Forster was into and what Buckingham provided.
Is that like the old timey Mask for Mask?
Yeah. Well, except he was
a real man.
He was femme for Mask.
Right. Okay.
But
okay.
like, so there's actually some like problematic labeling that happens when you read about these two in their relationship, because it was like, yeah, he was a wafy femboy when he was a kid, and then got famous and older and used that power to leverage this like hot cop into his life. And it was not the first policeman that he hooked up with.
Wow.
He had a brief dalliance with a guy named Harry Daly, who was a celebrity young tough cop, and he used to entertain a bunch of authors at the Hammersmith section house, and where he would quote, cook them bacon and eggs and perform boxing matches for them.
Is that a
shirtless
innuendo?
Right? Like,
yeah.
Anyway, yeah. So what's interesting here, I think, again, historically, I think it's clear that Forster was super into this cop for all of the like sexy cop reasons.
Right.
I'm not quite sure what the cop was getting out of it, except a friends with benefits kind of a thing. Like he has a wife, he has a kid. This guy that he's banging on the side is their kid's godparent. I don't know what's going on for them, Kyle.
Yeah.
But I kind of think it's hot.
I mean, you're kind of into it. You'd watch that porn?
I would watch that porn, wouldn't you?
Cops.
Yeah. All right. Okay, we've talked about Gertrude Stein and Alice B. Toklas before, but this is definitely... they were both raised in prominent Jewish families in the San Francisco Bay Area around the turn of the century. And so Alice B. Toklas went to Paris and started hanging out with Gertrude Stein, and like clearly fell in love with her. And they would go on long walks throughout Paris, and they would visit a bunch of places with friends and family. In 1908, they went to Normandy, and Gertrude Stein proposed to her. That proposes in quotes because, like, you can't get lesbian married.
Yeah.
But they both authors, and they really influenced each other a great deal. They moved in together, but they also lived with Gertrude Stein's brother Leo, who was probably not involved in the lesbianism.
I hope. What a third wheel.
Indeed, right? They called each other Lovey and Baby, and but lots of biographies have like left out the fact that they were like
You can't do hand motions on this podcast.
Oh. lesbians,
yeah. Yeah, that sounds like less of a friends with benefits situation and more just they were in a relationship, like a full-on relationship.
Right. Exactly. But yeah.
But history defines it.
Defines it as like a friends with benefits thing.
Which is frustrating.
The last one I want to talk to you about is movie star Rock Hudson and Tom Clark. They met in 1964, and Rock Hudson had a bridge game at the home of a mutual friend, which...
I want to meet someone at a bridge game.
That's the gayest shit ever, right?
Yes.
We got together to play bridge and eat sandwiches.
Mm-hmm.
But he was a publicist at MGM, and he had met and worked with a number of top stars. So he wasn't like totally star-eyed for Hudson because he'd been in that world. But they grew close. They eventually became lovers. In 1973, Clark moved into Rock Hudson's house, where he lived until 1983. Rock Hudson rather famously died of AIDS-related complications, and Clark helped take care of him as he was dying. But there's the LA Times wrote a review of Clark's book about their life, and was critical of the fact that Clark's book is more of that of a publicist than of an intimate relationship. So, quote, he writes about the fabulous parties they gave, the trips they took, and the famous people they met. There are anecdotes aplenty. Clark portrays Hudson as a somewhat innocent, friendly, and sincere man who needed guidance from someone savvy like Clark in both his personal and business affairs. But Clark never acknowledges that their relationship went beyond being roommates and business associates. It's an odd fact given that their alleged relationship was revealed in some detail in a book written by Hudson and a man named Davidson. It was like they co-wrote an autobiography. And so he was a gay man in Hollywood, and during that time that meant shutting it down. And there might be some internalized homophobia going on there, but it's interesting that this dude, who was for sure banging Rock Hudson, wrote a book about their life together and made it sound like a friends with benefits situation.
Interesting. That seems like, a weird thing to make the decision to write the book and not decide to go all the way with it.
Yeah.
Like, why would you? Why would you even write a book to begin with? Then
it's like biographical edging.
Yeah.
And I think part of the point here is that there's maybe a tendency to downplay your own gay stuff if you come from an era of shame about it.
Oh, yeah. Maybe you wanted to spin the public perception towards his view of we just hung out a whole bunch.
Or maybe still kind of protecting Rock's reputation somehow. But in each of these cases, what I want to point out is they were for sure banging. All four of these couples were, and get cast as friends with benefits type situations. And they are all slightly different. And so you don't have to make a blanket statement, but you do have to ask, would they have been more than just friends that were banging on the side if they were allowed to?
Yeah.
Right. If society were in a place that was okay, that supported that affirmed that. And I think likely so, but that's just my sensitivity,
And it's important to, I know that you are not supposed to call them gay or lesbian when they didn't identify that way, but the downside of not doing that is then it sounds like gay people just emerged from the ground in the 30s or whenever, we started to use that word. Yeah. And that's not true. There have always been gay people and lesbians and bisexual people, and we've always existed, and to not label them as such kind of hides that fact.
Yep, absolutely. And it's complicated. It's messy.
It's messy.
Coming up with rules for history is kind of hard.
Yeah, absolutely. Being a historian is apparently not easy.
Yeah.
Not as easy as just reading old books.
I don't know. I think it's pretty easy.
Okay. Super duper easy.
No, but okay. So those are some friends with benefits relationships from history that I wanted to talk about.
Well, I'm going to tell you about some gayta about friends with benefits.
Okay.
Super quick gayta.
I'm kind of surprised that it's been studied like that. Okay.
Yeah. They're not too much, which is why this is just a quick one. This is called The Effects of Gender and Psychosocial Factors on Friends with Benefits Relationships Among Young Adults. This is published in the Archives of Sexual Behavior in 2011 by Jesse Owen and Frank Fincham. and they looked at 800 and
Hey, Kyle.
Hey, Mike.
You just said those names
I know, so good, right?
and kept going.
Right?
Like,
I'm getting better at this. By episode 377, I'm going to do good at this job.
I just wanted to catch you winning.
Yeah,
So-
thanks. On this, the episode that I picked, because I won.
Yeah.
Ah, so good. I'll just stop here.
Okay.
That's it. This
Yeah.
has been gayish.
I'm Mike Johnson.
They looked at 889 young adults, and who was more likely to report friends with benefits relationships, men or women?
Men.
Yes. How many men have had friends with benefits situations? What percentage?
30.
54%.
Okay. That was a little- that was a little
54.3.
low.
I thought it would be higher than that. I thought most men would have a friends with benefits situation, but it's about half.
Well, back to your definition of situationship, like how many friends with benefits situations do both people involved think that that's what it is?
Know what it is, yeah. Which is maybe a reason for women. It's men is 54.3%, women is 42.9%. So lower than men. Less than half of women have had at least one friends with benefits.
I did read somewhere that there's. I wish I could remember where it was, because I don't think there were numbers to it, but it was saying that studies were showing that women focus on the friendship and men focus on the benefits that when asked about like the facets of what's going on. And like women have a lot of messages from society that it's not okay to like sex, and if you do, you're a slut. And
Yeah.
it makes me wonder if like they're more comfortable with a friends with benefits situation than casual sex or hookup culture, partially because it feels safer, but also because they get messages that that's what they have to do to make it less slutty or something.
Yeah, that makes sense. And yeah, safety is another thing that women have to think about way more than men. Is it safe to go to this hookups? Like, I don't think about that. I go to random hookups places and I'm just like walking over at 2 a.m. like, like I own the night, and don't think about like I could get murdered.
Yeah. You haven't been murdered yet.
Not yet.
Not even once.
Not even a little bit. Not even a hint of murder. Let's see. Both men and women reported that friends with benefits relationships were associated with more positive emotional reactions than negative ones.
Okay.
Although men reported a larger difference. So that makes sense to me. And I wonder if part of that is women's societal shame that gets placed on women for having casual sex. I wonder if that's part of the reason, the negative or the difference between men and women's response to this.
I mean, I think for sure a reason, maybe not the reason. Like, I don't know if the reason exists.
Yeah.
Human sex is complicated.
It's complex, just like history.
Yeah. Sex history is like twice as complicated.
So complicated.
4 times as complicated.
And greater alcohol use was related to engaging in friends with benefits relationships.
Okay.
What?
I mean, that could go a number of ways. That could be like you hang out at the bar, and that's, all of a sudden you realize like we've been friends for a while. Why haven't we put our penises in each other?
Why aren't we inside each other yet?
Oh no.
Yeah, I could see that alcohol loosens inhibitions and could cause you to be more likely to kind of take the plunge with a friend, take the risk, or go.
That worries me a little bit because I have this personal philosophy that people are more honest when they're drinking. So that says that they're repressing that when they're sober. And that's a weird foundation for a friendship, but whatever.
For you.
Yeah, for me.
For you. Yeah. That's the gayta.
Great. Awesome. I don't know where to go next, Kyle. I think I want to talk about this test in the Patreon segment.
Okay.
And there's a lot of very deeply personal questions on there that I want people to have to pay to hear.
Okay. What is this? Tell them about the test that they'll do on Patreon.
The Sociosexual Orientation Inventory. And it is a battery of questions for psych research for people's self-image and self-concept about the mixture of social relationships and sexual relationships. So friends with benefits being one of the places on that spectrum.
And did you say it's like they use this in formal like studies to measure?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Which is interesting that there's anything that formal.
Yeah, I agree. Like, of all the things to solve.
Yeah.
Well, okay. So I'll do this thing then now. So other FWBs, Kyle, that isn't friends with benefits. First, FWB is the airport code for West Branson, Missouri.
Oh, okay.
Which
That's cute.
is cute, but it's also. Have you been to Branson?
Mm-mm.
Do you know about Branson?
I don't.
It is a destination for faggotry,
Who is it?
and you wouldn't expect it because it's in Missouri.
Yeah.
But it's gotten to be known as like a mini Broadway kind of a place. Like lots of musical theater happens in Branson, Missouri, of all fucking places. Branson's local attractions include Aquarium at the Boardwalk, Beyond the Lens, Hollywood Wax Museum, Branson, Wonderworks, Silver Dollar City, Whitewater, Ripley's Super Fun Zone, Mount Pleasant Winery, Dolly Parton's Stampede, helicopter rides, zip lines, cave tours, go-karts, mini golf, and more. And all of that is, again, on top of the many, many entertainment theaters that host residency shows in music, dance, magic, and other performing arts. Gay.
Wow. This episode brought to you by visitmissouri.com. Take your life on a wild ride.
Yeah, just put in FWB as your airport code and see what happens. Sort of along the same lines, FWB is also the name of the Frankfurt Stock Exchange. Frankfurter Wertpapierbörse.
I love that.
The third oldest and 12th largest stock exchange by market cap. It is the nickname of Filmmakers Without Borders.
Okay.
Which, sounds almost as important as doctors, but it isn't.
Someone's got to film the doctors that do the important work.
Got to get the word out. They're doing it for the gram.
Yeah.
It's also the nickname for the Free Will Baptists, which I tried really hard to find out what their position was on queer people. But because the word Baptist is in it, it's not a great...
I think we know.
Yeah, I think we know too.
Yeah.
And then the last one that I'll mention here anyway is FWB is the nickname for Feinwerkbau, which is a German manufacturer of guns.
Oh.
Yeah. Firearms and air guns. It's for competitive ISSF shooting events, including some at the Olympic Games. And they have air pistols and rifles, small caliber and .22 rifles, and competition pistols, as well as 2 muzzle-loading black powder small arms. It was established by Karl Westinger and Ernst Altenburger in 1949.
I like you doing your German accent.
Me too. That's why I just
Altenburger.
Yeah. Ich spreche kein Deutsch, but I'll try.
Deutsch.
Yeah, that's other FWBs, Kyle.
Yeah. There's also fucking Wall Bareback.
Oh.
There's also...
Did you make that up right now?
Yes.
Great. Let's start calling it that.
Yeah.
You should go on Grindr and look for people looking for FWBs.
Oh yeah, and be like,
show up and tell them that's what you're looking for.
I'm so ready to fuck Wall Bareback. There's also farting with your booty.
Yeah. I mean, every day.
Every day I'm farting. Should I talk about tips?
Tips. Just the tips.
Just the tips. We're going to talk about tips from a 2023 article on Grindr.
Nice.
Yep, called 9 Tips for Friends with Benefits.
I'm only there for the articles, Kyle.
Yeah, exactly. Who knew that Grindr had articles? And maybe we'll sprinkle in some of our own personal experience.
I don't even know, where would you go to get... my phone's off because I'm a good podcaster.
Yeah.
Where do you even go for the articles on Grindr?
/blog? Oh, God. I don't know.
Great.
What advice, what works? Do you have friends with benefits? Did you have friends with benefits?
I have in the past, and I do not. Oh, no, I do. Yes.
You had to think about that for a second.
Yeah. I mean, after my ex and I split up, and I was dating casually, definitely had a friends with benefits situation with a dude that lives just a few blocks away.
That's convenient.
Yeah, convenient. And I don't know, we would hang out a couple of times a month. And with that scenario, he and his husband had a mismatched libido situation where the husband was like, just go fuck someone. And so he did.
Yeah.
But then it wasn't just the sex part, which that was what I was sort of struggling with in that relationship, was navigating, figuring out like we're not dating, but that was safe because he had a husband, but we would like watch TV and play board games and like go eat and order Chinese food and bang a bunch. Like,
Yeah.
So I don't have any tips though, but that whole thing is like kind of messy.
What made it messy?
No, just like I started dating and wanted to be more serious or at least committed to that. And that's not current boyfriend. This is like, more than a year ago now.
Yeah.
Or a year and a half or 2 years. Anyway. And then I had the like internal struggle of like, well, I don't have any commitments to this person yet, but I have been on 3 dates with them and I like where it's going. So when do I have the conversation with the FWB about like, I don't have any commitments to this other person, but it's getting to the point where I would feel weird if I kept hooking up with you.
Right.
And then, but the mess was all mine. He was lovely and continues to be. I run into him every once in a while. I just had a bunch of like, how do I navigate this? When's the right time to cut it off? Or do I even have to? Or like, it was, stuff.
Yeah. I think anytime you want to change the nature of your relationship, that deserves some kind of communication.
Mm-hmm. 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 Mm-hmm.
That to me is a good, and whether it's over text or in person or what have you, or in a phone call, like depends on what the nature of that relationship is and how you usually communicate. But anytime you want what has been happening to change, I think that merits a conversation.
Yeah. I'm with you. How about you though? Like you have a whole stable of studs, friendly studs,
day studs,
SWBs.
That's a weird way to phrase it. No, I tend to have more. I don't know at what point they become friends. Like it tends to be more fuck buddies, but that like we will talk a little bit, like, or if one of us messages and the other person's not up for hooking up, we might just say like, "But how are you doing?" and chat a little bit. So like, I think of them more fuck buddies that I'm friendly with than friends with benefits, because I don't have anyone that I like hang out with. Well, that's not true. I just recently started like making out with a friend.
Yeah. Okay.
So
it's not me, everybody.
Not you. Much to everyone's chagrin, it's not you. But that's a new development that I'm still navigating.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But so I think it's more rare for me to have an actual friend with benefits.
I mean, there's that whole thing. Like I made the joke that I'm kind of a chick about sex, and that it comes from the rather misogynistic but common view that like men need sex so that they can feel romantic attraction. Women need romantic attraction so that they can enjoy sex. And you've shown yourself pretty consistently to be like good with starting with sex as the kernel and then building on top of that.
Yeah.
Slowly and over time. And so it doesn't surprise me at all.
Yeah.
So
yeah, totally. Well, some of the tips here are pick with purpose. It's the first tip.
Your nose?
Yep. Pick your butt.
Yeah. Know what you're going after up there.
The article said, quote, "Go for someone who lights up your desires but isn't set to capture your heart."
Well, okay.
Wow.
Okay.
This is beautiful.
And how can you know?
How can you know? What's the right pick then? You got to pick someone purposefully. And I mean, there's also like, it's okay if friends with benefits merges into a relationship. Like,
well, okay. I didn't know if I was going to talk about this.
Okay.
But like with my ex-husband and I, at the end there, we opened up our relationship. And I thought it was perfectly rational to say, go fuck whoever you want to. Just don't fall in love. Don't have feelings. And what I realize now is that was completely unreasonable. Like, you can't control how you're going to feel, and you can't control how other people are going to feel. And if you are going to interact at all, whether sex is involved or not, you might have different feelings than you intended to when you started out doing it.
Right.
And so I think it's a bad tip, Kyle.
Yeah. Agreed.
Okay, great.
I mean, yeah, like picking someone, trying to intentionally pick someone that you are not going to get into a relationship with, like, I don't know what's wrong with finding someone through this method and ending up wanting to be in a relationship with them. You know, like that's okay if it becomes that.
I would take that maybe a step further of like, I think that if you set out to do that, and then because you can't control it, you start having feelings, then you're going to be in the place of like, your heart wants one thing and your brain is shutting it down. And that's what fucks people up. Right? Like that's repression, that's self-repression. And that's not great. Next thing you know, you're going to be, I don't know, banging mannequins or something. I like it'll that can mess a person up.
Yeah, for sure. And that leads into tip number 2, do an emotional self-check. So that's an important thing to check in with yourself along the way. Like, are you really good with this situation? Is it the right thing for you? I think kind of checking in with yourself is an important part of this process.
God, it's hard to remember to do that.
Yeah.
Like,
because sometimes you just want that dick.
Well, there's that. Yes, absolutely. But I just mean that, like, anytime there's a tip or a suggestion that it's like, on some regular cadence, you should ask yourself, fill in some insightful question. But are you really going to remember to do that?
Yeah.
Like, should you set an alarm on your phone that's like, ask yourself, how's the dick going?
Yeah.
Right? Like, it's hard to actually do that.
Yeah. Well, if anyone's listening and in a friends with benefits situation, this is your reminder to check in with yourself right now.
Yeah. Or put a reminder on your phone.
Put a reminder? Yeah. Yeah.
I'd say weekly.
Yeah. Oh, weekly. Depends on how often you're hooking up with them.
The best part is, like, if you do that and you make the reminder about a specific person, then you can be like, weekly, oh yeah, that guy exists.
Oh, yeah.
They have a dick. I want it.
I need to hook up with him again. Number 3, establish clear boundaries.
Okay, this is a good tip.
Yeah.
This is a very good tip.
Which this one is also a hard one to do, like, especially if you've been drinking and you decide to like make the plunge, and then like it's hard to stop everything and be like, before we proceed,
right,
let's discuss the boundaries of this. So it might have to be something you do after the first hookup or something.
Yep.
To make it little bit more realistic of a goal.
Yeah. God, and it's hard to, like, even in a like a romantic relationship, it's hard to figure out like when is the right time to talk about stuff that might be difficult or uncomfortable to talk about.
Yeah.
Because if you're like, if you're enjoying the movie, even if it's on your mind, it's kind of weird to be like, hey, we need to talk.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like,
and it's as if it's like after you hook up and he's like, while they're like getting ready to leave, like to be like, hey, now let's have a serious conversation. And to be like, you didn't want to do this before we hooked up, or like, do you text them separately? We should establish, I don't know. This is a hard thing to do.
It's hard. Yeah. That's why therapy is good.
Yeah. BetterHelp.
Couples counseling, I was thinking.
Oh,
but like
with your friends with benefits?
No.
Oh, okay.
No.
Whew. Yeah. That'd be, if someone asked me about therapy and they were just a friends with benefits, I'd be like, okay, this has been fun. See ya. Express.
What if you're like, oh, my alarm went off. Let's talk about this.
The reminder on my phone went off. Express only your physical desires. It says
that's not what I do with my friends.
But because you think friendships you express more than just the physical.
Yes. Yeah.
The article says keep your mouth closed unless you're inserting his love stick.
Okay. I mean,
I hate that phrasing.
I'm kind of into that phrasing, but I don't think that's a friend with benefits. I think that's a fuck buddy.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's weird advice. I think that's one of the benefits of friends with benefits is you can talk about more stuff than just sex. That's like part of the value proposition of it.
Is the next tip put a bag over their head? Like, what is
Pretend they're a human sex doll.
Hot.
Mhm. Don't skimp on safety. So have safe sex and have regular health checkups to avoid STIs.
And know your status and communicate it. And like,
why do you say that with an eye roll?
because it's what you're supposed to do.
All the good
and
go-to tips.
It's also hard to know when to do that.
Yeah.
Like,
I think
because if you're drunk at the bar and this is headed towards a hookup, to be like, you clearly want me. Let's talk about our STI status.
Yeah.
It's
hey, baby. Yeah. You on prep?
Yeah.
Do you want prep and do you want to fuck? Let's see. Expect the fizzle.
Yeah.
Expect that it will at some point fizzle out and make it clean, swift, and consensual. No drama, no strings. That's easier said than done, I think.
Easier said than done, but also I think good. There are a lot of people-pleasing people out there in the world, and I am one of them, who will not end something because of the fear of how it's going to make that person feel. And there's no getting around that it's going to kind of suck.
Yeah.
But it's not going to get easier. In fact, it's going to get harder and more complicated the longer you let that shit go.
And easier than a relationship. Like, that's one of the benefits of a friends with benefits thing, is like, we are kind of agreeing that we can start this and stop this whenever we need to.
Yeah.
And it's a little bit more easy to like end that relationship than a romantic one.
Do you think, like, what level does it have to get to where an end is even required? Something about the casualness of an FWB situation tells me like it might just stop without talking about it. Maybe.
I think the other side of that would be if like they text, 3 times in a row, like, do you want to hook up? No. Do you want to hook up? No. Do you want to hook up? No. Then at some point you may need to be like, okay, by the way, this thing is over, when you're like have differing expectations of if you're going to keep it going. But you're right. I think sometimes it just kind of fizzles out. No one texts the other person. Yeah. And then you just it just goes into the night.
Yeah. I don't know if I would expect the fizzle, but I would certainly make room for it.
Yeah. I think that's a great way to say it. They say no sleepovers.
Okay. No.
No?
No. Look, cuddling to me, I would take cuddling over an orgasm any day.
Wow.
That's a lie. But but like, I don't know why that's viewed as so threatening. Like, I respect it as a boundary. There are people in my life that have been like in open relationships, and I'm, we're hooking up on the side. That's like, husband or boyfriend says I can't sleep over. Mm-hmm. Great. I don't understand it. I don't share that, like, it's okay to like violate your butthole, but you can't stay here is weird. But it just seems like an overemphasis is placed on the intimacy of that for some reason that I don't necessarily find threatening, but whatever.
I mean, sleepovers, part of it, you're just fucking asleep. Like,
right.
You're actually sleeping for part of that time. That's not too, I don't know.
And weirdly, like, I find, I would be more likely, and I wouldn't do it, but I would be more likely to put a boundary around making out than just sleeping in the same bed.
Interesting. People who say like, but no kissing, to me are wild.
Yeah. Right. But they exist too. It's like, okay, then respect that as a boundary. And what is that about?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I agree. The next one, I'm just going to read verbatim because get your head in the game. Channel your inner jock for a moment.
Spell head.
You're in the locker room at halftime, adrenaline pumping, muscles twitching from the rush of the play. That's an electric thrill of a friends with benefits situation. It's raw, exhilarating, and unbridled. Dive deep, explore those locker room fantasies, and relish every charged moment. It's the core of what makes a friends with benefits dynamic so enticing. Unleash the fun.
Are you selling a soda?
I don't know what this tip means.
It's like a Gatorade commercial.
But it is filled with electrolytes. I don't know what this tip means, but that was one of the tips. Get your head in the game. I don't know.
Well, okay.
Are you going to make this meaningful?
Maybe. I do think that there's something to the advice of, if you're going to do it, do it. Like, don't be in your head about what does this mean and what's okay and what, like, once you've set those boundaries and you've established that whatever else is going on in your personal life means that this sex with this person in this moment is consented to and okay, I think it's in your best interests to get out of your own head and get in the game.
Lean
and
into...
I'm very bad at this, by the way, very, very bad at this, but I think that's maybe a good tip if viewed from that perspective.
Okay, I like that. Okay. You did make it into something that was actually helpful.
High five.
And last, exit like a champ. So aim for a clean break, but there's no need to ghost.
Okay.
Which I like that.
Like Donatella Versace from an elevator.
Exit like a champ.
Exit like a champ.
Yeah, I think part of this is knowing that it could end at any moment, that either person is allowed to pull out whenever they want, and that's okay.
Yeah.
And you're allowed to communicate that directly, and everyone should be down with that.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. That kind of goes back to the, like, be ready for the fizzle too, I think, a little bit. But
yeah, that's true.
Be a good communicator. Use your mouth words. You're an adult.
Yeah. That's so easy to say. I don't do that.
It's so hard. What else? Do we do it?
Yeah.
Friends with benefits.
Hit me up.
Send me your dick.
And we'll see what we can do.
Okay. Hold on.
Okay.
Before we go to a break.
Yeah.
I do want to talk about, I think that there are a lot of people who are in a friends with benefits situation because they're afraid of commitment.
Oh, okay.
That, like, they'll say, this is my friend with benefits, and we spend every weekend together, and we watch TV series and binge them together, and we cuddle and we make out and we cook food together, and we have all of this amazing sex, but he's not my boyfriend. Like, well, what the fuck other than that word would change about your relationship if you were?
Yeah.
And there's something going on for that person or those people.
Maybe. Yeah, maybe that's the emotionally not ready kind of person that we were talking about earlier, that, like, maybe that is a emotionally unavailable kind of person that doesn't want to name it a relationship, or maybe they just don't want to introduce you to their parents.
Maybe they're not out at work.
I mean, yeah. Oh, that could be a reason.
I know. Yeah. But I mean, that's what's going on for them.
Yeah.
Right. Like, it's so interesting to me, the number of, like, life partnerships I've seen that are labeled as friends with benefits situations that just don't look like it to me.
Yeah.
Also not my job to label what's going on for them, but, like, I'm going to secretly inside my head voice.
Yeah. Are gays more likely to have friends with benefits relationships than straight guys?
It's a great question.
I don't find gayta on it.
I don't know any straight people.
Okay, so our sample size is 0. Based on that, I think we're more open to non-conventional relationships by virtue of being gay, because our relationships are non-conventional by definition. And so we're open to, and that's why I think we're more open to open relationships. We're more open to the varying definitions and levels of what a relationship can be. And some straight people wouldn't, half of straight dudes have not, or it didn't say what their orientation was. So mostly straight dudes, presumably, like more than half or just under half of straight dudes haven't had a friends with benefits situation. Like I'm guessing that gays are more likely to have friends with benefits.
My gut assesses the situation the same way. I agree with everything that you said. I was thinking I can think of 3 examples in my life of straight people who are looking for a friends with benefits thing, or that's what the vibe is to me, but they end up going poly instead. And it also seems that for straight people, it's the women that are looking for that. And that the dude, I mean, again, sample size of just like the 3 situations in my life that I'm aware of, but it's like, dude is in a long-term relationship with a girl, wants to have more and varied kinds of sex, has a friend, like, is like, let's fuck, And it seems like then she's like, well, I want to be more than just your fuck buddy. I want to be more than just a friend with benefits situation. I want to be poly. That's the, I've seen that happen 3 times now is what I'm saying. And without claiming that that's universal or even true, I guess it's a thing that I've seen.
Because it seems like straight people tend to more default to relationships as their only option. They're stuck in the societal norms of if it is anything, it has to be a relationship.
Yep. Exactly right.
Yeah.
Did we do it?
Yeah, I think so. We did some stuff.
We talked about lots of stuff for kind of a long time.
Yeah.
So that's gayish.
Podcasting.
Should we take a break?
Yeah, let's take a break.
A friend with breaks?
Break.
This is the part where Mike and Kyle take a break.
So are we back?
We're back.
We're back.
We're going to do our Gayest and Straightest.
We're going to do our Gayest and Straightest. But first, our website is gayishpodcast.com.
We're on socials at Gayish Podcast, or you can find out all the communities that you can join to hang out with us and our listeners at gayishpodcast.com/contact.
Our hotline, you can send us text messages or leave us voicemails, is 5855-GAYISH. That's 585-542-9474. Standard rates apply.
9473?
9474.
9474? Huh. Our email is gayishpodcast@gmail.com.
And our physical mailing address is Post Office Box 19882, Seattle, Washington, 98109.
Why did I think our phone number was different for one? Okay.
I don't know.
Do you want to do our Gayest and Straightest?
Let's do our Gayest and Straightest. Now you have me questioning everything, Kyle.
9474.
Sorry. I don't know. I don't know what happened to me there.
Well, I'll go first while you get your shit together.
Okay, great.
Let's see. So I told you that we're a group of friends we're planning on going to Japan for a trip in November. So we'll probably have to get you a guest host because that's going to be a long trip. But
Okay.
we had a Japlanning meeting, and they were talking about baseball. And so the straightest thing about me this week is telling you all about that. Yes, Japan cares about baseball. Ichiro Suzuki came from Japan, and he was a Seattle Mariner for a long time and a famous one. Like, I knew a shocking amount about Mariners baseball.
Very impressed.
Yeah. But the gayest thing about me this week is after the Japlanning meeting, reaching out to everybody and saying that boyfriend and I are too gay for baseball. We don't want to do that, dog. That's a no for us, dog.
That's hilarious. Yeah, I don't know that. I might go to a baseball game. Do they still have cotton candy there?
I mean, I'll get wasted anywhere.
Yeah, that's true. My gayest is you and I are judging a Miss Gay United States for Washington.
Yeah, we are.
This weekend.
Yeah, we are. So we did the interview portion last night.
Yep. And later today we're doing the evening gown and talent kind of portion.
Yep. It's going to be fun.
It's going to be a lot of fun. But that's very gay
Mm-hmm.
to be asked to judge that.
Mm-hmm.
My straightest is how uncomfortable I was wearing nice clothes.
Oh.
You're supposed to look cute, and I felt very out of place for me. Let's read a listener's gayest and straightest.
Sure. Yeah, we have a listener's gayest and straightest, this time from Jacob McComb.
Yeah, so he says, happy hump day to my favorite podcasters. Heart emoji. Here's my gayest and straightest. My straightest was growing a full beard for the first time ever.
Wow.
I did eventually shave it off because it got irritating, but let me tell you, I never felt more butch. My gayest is probably singing along to the Spice Girls on my drive home from work. Love you guys. Jacob McComb.
Spice up your life.
Every boy and every girl.
I love it.
Tight. I'm having a good time. Thanks, Jacob.
Thanks, Jacob. If you want us to do your gayest and straightest, send us a voicemail. That's the best way.
Yeah. We need more voicemails, so leave us one.
Yeah.
And I want to thank our...
I want to thank all of my friends with benefits.
Yeah?
Yeah.
To all the friends with benefits I've loved along the way.
Yeah.
I've not loved along the way. And I want to thank the following Super Cat Bridgers. Thank you to Kaylee Adams, Kit Oliver, Pip, Andrew Bugby, William Bryant, John Crowley, Stephen Porch, Yost Osel, Harry Shaw, Jonathan Montañez, Wadu, Forrest Nail, Patrick Martin, Steve Douglas, Explosive Lasagna, Michael Covington, Just Jamie, Thomas B., Dusty Sands, A. Coleman, Chris Cacciatorians, and Jerome York. Thank you for your support.
Thank you for your money. That's it. This has been Gayish from the Chris Cacciatore Studios. I'm Mike Johnson.
I'm Kyle Getz. Until next week, be butch, be fabulous, be you. See you next week.
See you next week, friends.